can call me Lisa. You say, hi Lisa, welcome to the show. Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's the starting, so just start with something like that. Ready?
Okay, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm not going to tell my age. It's okay, I tell my age, doesn't matter.
Hi， 我是 Madam 黄，那么我今年是71岁，我是巴黎。
It was a below-average day for most of Singapore. We were entering day 17 of Circuit Breaker, a day after all bubble tea shops closed their shutters. A great Singaporean tragedy. Faith Methodist Church had bigger things to be excited about. Faith welcomed its first stayer, Madam Mies, on this bright, sunny day. Her smile rivaled the radiance of the sun. It wasn't long before 7 more women came and populated the church amidst the circuit breaker. I could go on forever boasting about them, but I'd rather hear them talk.
Okay, I'm Mies, and I'm 69 years old, and I'm a housewife.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm actually 44 years old. I've been in sales and marketing for a long time. So I used to do sales and marketing basically before.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Madam 黄，我今年71岁。
I have been staying in Malaysia for a long time, but I commute between Malaysia and Singapore. I stayed at the seaside town of Mersing, where actually I run a small resort, mini resort of about 10 units of small chalets. And so sometimes I spend my time in Mersing, and sometimes I go back to Singapore. I return to Singapore to do the usual thing like paying bills, paying my insurance premium, and visiting my relatives over here.
Oh, I used to go to work, take care of my kids. Basically what a single mom would do. Take care of the kids, go to work, come back, relax, watch some tellies, movies, play some games, and go to sleep and start the day all over again as usual. Yeah.
我之前在 before that 几年前我是还有做工，后来我没有做工了，我就想说移去马来西亚，因为小时候我是住在马来西亚，那么我觉得那边的生活比较平静，也比较节省，经济上我们可以省一点啊，所以我就想移民过去那边，只是不能够，因为不能够移民，没有办法，临时就住在那边，也是在我小时候的kampung。
The reason why I came to, the reason why I ended up here is I'm supposed to go back to Singapore because I have a certain restriction on my visa. So I have to make return trips to Singapore, you know. But then I knew that when I come back, that I will be in quarantine for about 14 days. I was prepared for it.
刚好现在这一次有就是 COVID-21 呢，那我们没有办法，我居留那边是不能够超过30天，在马来西亚。偶尔之前呢，我就进出的盖印，那么这个时候我就以为说30天，可能他们还不到30天就可以给我们回，因为那边已经在戒严嘛。那后来哪里知道不能够，他们又在 extend， 所以我就赶出来新加坡。
I basically sought help because I was staying in a hostel for a while, for about 5 months. I'm waiting for actually the government to actually get me a HDB flat, but since I'm not properly divorced yet, so I couldn't get a HDB flat rented from the government.
在出来新加坡的时候，我们的新加坡政府也是很好，叫我们隔离，把我们带到 hotel， 就是旅店那边去2个礼拜。
And when when we were in the hotel, it was a luxurious hotel. Things went very smoothly, but after just 3 days before we were supposed to be released from quarantine, there was a form which we have to fill. And one of the items they asked is, where are you going to be after you leave the quarantine area? So I was thinking I wanted to go to a budget hotel. So I told them, but then it seems that because I couldn't go back I have a flat in Singapore, I couldn't go back to the flat because it's being rented out. And their expiry date, the tenants have to move out only on the 31st of May.
So in the meantime, while I get my divorce process, my SOS, I mean the social service officer in charge of me, he said that I should, live somewhere else first before I actually, get a new flat. So I reckon the cheapest way to stay in Singapore without any place to stay, right, is to stay in a hostel. You don't have to meet any families or whatsoever. Stay in a hostel for a while. But what happens was when it comes to coronavirus, right? I've been staying in a hostel for more than 5 months, but then again, the coronavirus started tightening up. So basically, the hostels could not take any Singaporeans anymore. So my SOS actually called the MSF. All right, and he actually told me whether I would like to stay in a church.
So when I wanted to stay in the hotel, it also not acceptable because it seems there's a ruling which said at that time, because of COVID-19, that no Singapore hotels will accept Singaporean. So I was in a panic. I rang up MSF, and they said they'll help me, and so I ended up here.
After 2个礼拜，我很感谢福利部的社工，他们很照顾我们，就是打电话问好我们，安排我们看要去哪里住，刚刚好就安排到我们这个卫理公会这里，我觉得很幸运，也很感谢。
All right, so we have to talk about Lisa, Madam Huang, and Madam Niece.
So when they first came, right, what were your impressions of them?
Desiree had a strong first impression of Lisa, so why not you share?
Actually, when I first met Lisa, I was mid-conversation with one of the other women in the shelter, and I remember Lisa just kind of waltzed in with the handbag in her hand, the iconic thing that she does. Yeah, I think she really just exuded this kind of confident aura around her. I really couldn't tell that she was one of the women in the shelter. Actually, I thought she was one of the volunteers. Yeah, and I think she just had this really loud laughter. Yeah, that was really nice. But I guess my impression of her really changed over time, when I got to know her better.
So your first impression of her was pretty bad?
Not bad, just inaccurate. Yeah.
Joyesh, how about you? What was your first impression of?
I think I felt, when I spoke with her, I felt that she knew what she wanted, she knew what she needed.
Yeah.
And she just really wanted to take care of her kids. Yeah. So that was her priority. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Madam Huang. Madam Huang.
Oh, Joanne.
Yeah, you had a special relationship with Madam Huang.
Yeah, so she called me her 我的儿子. Yeah, so I've helped her with her online applications for grants and subsidies and stuff. And she has been going out to buy food quite often. Actually, almost every day lah. She'll just go out to buy food, and she'll always come back with extra kopi in her hand, and she'll always give me the kopi. Maybe because I'm her 儿子.
Yeah, I think we all remember that, right? Madam Huang's generosity was really quite outstanding. She always bring this other woman from the shelter out to buy food because she knew where all the good food places was. Yeah, and she really didn't hesitate to buy extra of the fruit, the food, or whatever. And there was always just extra food that she brought back for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, there was always leftover food at the pantry, the side of the table. Yeah. Madam Niece. Yes. Joyesh, do you have any first impressions?
Yeah, so Madam Niece was actually our first stayer, So when she came on the first day, I didn't meet her on the first day, but I met her after. I found that she was very, very bubbly, and she was quite just cheerful in general, and she just wanted to get comfortable and settle in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Madam Nis is quite a special and an interesting case because she's not someone you would typically categorize as homeless, but it's purely because of the circumstances of COVID that she ended up becoming homeless. And I think that's why she was exceptionally cheery and super intentional about making friends with the other stayers here at FMC. Yeah, and she was very, very empathetic towards all the other women and their situations, that she really went beyond what was necessary for her to go on and help the other women, right?
Yeah.
And I think as church staff and as volunteers, we were super grateful for her because when we weren't volunteering, she was there like 24/7, almost taking care of the women herself, like she was a volunteer herself also.
Yeah. Nis took the time to listen to all their stories and wished to share some misconceptions people might have about her friends to help you clean your lenses to see them rightly. So this is Nis speaking for them as a genuine friend.
But I find that the word homeless, which can be referred to some of them, it conjures all the very bad negative vibes. Because some of them they've got a house, but they cannot go back to because the relationship is broken. Father being violent, how can she go back to? And I hope this is not the norm in Singapore, that many children abandon their parents, their mother or father. And it's the wrong time to abandon. It's a very sad time to abandon them because they're old. They cannot feel very sad about it. They cannot find income. They cannot find a place to stay. And I could relate to some of them because when they confide in me, I wish I could help them, But the pain is still on. I have a few friends among this small group who are like that. The pain, they say, is so bad that they just want to walk away, and be somewhere that they are appreciated. So I hope that this kind of thing is not the norm in Singapore, because I think it's very bad for our society to be on this type of situation. So then the last part that I would like to discuss is misconception. A misconception about the people who are homeless. They're not lazy. They do not, if possible, they have their pride. They do not want handouts.
Alright, Desiree. S3P has ended. We're in August. And do you remember the time on their very last day we went out on a mini date and we're talking about them. It was quite a serious conversation about social justice, right? What do you say?
I think I was talking about how with COVID, we've been discussing quite a lot about social justice within our friendship circles as well, and how as an idea it seems pretty okay, we get it, we get what social justice is, how we can apply it, and how we should go about it. But I think having that first-hand experience and having to have matched them with actual faces, with these stories that they so lovingly shared with us, was a bit difficult, if I'm honest, right? Our first moments, I remember, was if we were not careful, we would have just left it as heaviness and a lot of hopelessness, right? We're talking about there's actually so much more that we wish we could do, and how much we're not doing, and that was really difficult. Yeah.
But we talked about how we have to flip that discouragement to being encouraged instead, right?
Yeah, and I think that was the most encouraging thing. Like knowing that heaviness isn't from God when we do His work as well, and thinking about how like even within like the 8 women, what the church was able to do for them, like in that capacity that we had, like seeing how that made an impact on them just made me wonder like there's actually so much that we can do and so much that God yearns for us to like partner with Him to do, right? Yeah, but it's like, do we do it? And I think, but that question in itself isn't like hopeless. It's like hopeful. It's like, so where do we go from here? How do we reallocate our resources to better look out for these people? Yeah, and it's like a very profound like change in
And like
perspective.
the discouragement comes from just looking at circumstances and looking at things from the macro. But then when you acknowledge that they're also like humans, just like us, and when we share joy in like the smallest things in our own lives, like when we get like kopi peng on a very hot day, and we just like damn sure, right? And like that's our joy, and just knowing that they can share the same small joys in the world, and it's totally within our capacity to like just share that small kind of joys in our own ways to them. Was kind of super helpful. And I'm talking specifically about, you know, Madam Nis told us that she never had a proper birthday celebration before. Yeah, and then she said the celebration at church was the first time that there was a proper celebration.
Love transcended the physical constraints of circuit breaker and COVID-19. Auntie Lily cooked a feast for all the beautiful women. Rachel bought an awfully chocolate cake for Nis, and MSF gifted them a giant hamper. Nis thanked us at Faith for giving her something to learn about the homeless situation in Singapore. My prayer then for you watching this documentary is for you to love the people here. My prayer for you is for you to fall in love with the least, the last, and the lost, just like Nis did.
Black forest. Black forest cake.
Okay, where's the knife?
Where's the
Knife. Knife is something. I don't my German. Knife. Oh, you can celebrate with champagne there, huh?
As Jongmin and I have learned, God is not a sympathizer, but an empathizer. And an empathizer loves.